Good morning and welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Clay Atkinson. Sam Sherry and I are presenting today's service. We are also fortunate to have one of our church members, Keith Prairie, providing original music. We, of course, are supported by the worship committee. We have lay-led worship and a long-standing tradition at A2U2, and most of our service for the summer will be lay-led. In the fall, we'll be welcoming our new minister, Reverend Donna Dolham, which we're really excited about. So Sam, can you light that chalice?
Certainly. We light this chalice to remind ourselves of the strength that we gain from this community and the chance that we have to bring our best selves to it.
For sharing the plate, the recipient this time is Youth and Family Outreach. YFO serves children 6 weeks of age to 5 years and their families. It currently operates an early care and education facility, which was established in 1986. The program is proud of its nutrition program, using only whole ingredients and serving meals and snacks for the YFO community. The staff members of the program are multiracial and include folks from several immigrant communities. YFO has a strong history of connection to both First Parish and Allen Ave UU. At one time, the bylaws required that a board representative from each of these churches. In the past, several A2U2 folks have served on the board, including Catherine Ruby, Kathy Stead, Catherine Falwell, Julia Harrison, and Sonia Tonelli, nominated by Sonia Tonelli. And this looks like an opportunity for the future too, for anyone that might want to volunteer for this organization. If you'd like to contribute to the offering, you can go to our website, a2u2.org, and use the donation button at the top of the page. You can also send a check directly to the church. Today we have only one announcement, which I find very odd. One announcement? A reminder that we'll have our virtual coffee hour along with Joys and Concerns at 10:45 this morning. The link for coffee hour will also be at our website, a2u2.org. We hope you'll join us then. So following opening music by Keith Prairie, we're going to offer a few original vignettes, script development led by me, character development led by Sam Sherry. Each of the vignettes will be followed by a discussion between Sam and myself. Here we go.
Two families have recently joined Allen Avenue, and the two men, Mark and Jeff, decide to meet for coffee. They want to talk about their experience at Allen Avenue. Kind of a check-in. Jeff's daughter and husband have also recently joined the congregation, and their children are in the RE program.
I really like the church. I believe it's going to be our spiritual home and an important community for us and our daughter's family.
Yeah, I agree. So far it's been a great experience. I've met some really friendly people and I've enjoyed several of the services.
When I first came, someone on the membership committee asked me what I thought of the service. I laughed and said I liked it, but I had to admit that I couldn't believe half of what the minister said. She told me, "Oh good. You'll fit right in."
I haven't seen you in the second service.
Well, we go to the first service because our daughter's family goes to the first service. Also, I'm trying to get used to the multi-generational aspect of the church.
I hear that there is a lot more people our age in the second service.
Sometimes I wish we would go to the second service. I believe we spend too much time with our children and grandchildren. I could use a break.
Well, it sounds like they're off to a good start, Sam.
They
What do you
certainly
think?
sound
At
like
least there's-
Unitarian to me, Clay.
Does it? It sounds like it, or are they just looking for new members? So, anyway, tell me about your graphic characters, your choices for graphic characters.
Oh, I had a good time
I love it.
working with that program, and I thought it would be something that people here would enjoy, since we're in a different way of being together at church now. There are a few characters available on the Plotagon program, and those two seemed to suit our needs for today.
Well, except I don't remember seeing hardly anyone that looked like them in our congregation.
I think that diversity in all of its aspects is one of the greatest challenge that A2U2 faces. And so the chance to bring some faces to A2U2 was something too good to miss.
Sounds good to me.
Tell me about your joke and statement about the gentleman who said he didn't believe half of what the minister said. How does that work for you?
Well, for one thing, it's not a standard joke, but it's been heard before throughout UU. But for me, having been in a fellowship for over 25 years where we didn't have a minister, and we challenged each other, and we brought in guest speakers and so on. So it took a little while to get used to having a minister. And I do have to say, I've gotten used to, after 15 years now, of having a minister at a church. So there you go.
This is our fourth UU parish for me and for Kathy.
Yeah.
And all of them have had ministers. It's been a really great experience. We've had, I think, 10 or 12 ministers in between the settled ministers and interim ministers, ranging from brand new newbies to national leaders. And it's been really wonderful to see what everybody brings.
Good.
It's been a real
great
growth experience.
On another front, while we were talking about the script and working on this thing, you made some comments about one service versus two services. And I wondered whether you'd share those comments.
I thought that your remarks in the script touched on something that really is the central issue that we face, you know, as a country, as a society, as a denomination, as a church. Diversity is every bit as important as it has ever been, and probably more so in many respects. And I think that when our church sets up a scenario that looks like you people go here and you people go here, that's a real built-in challenge to diversity. It really is. It really is hard for me to embrace, Clay. And I know you feel a little bit differently for different reasons.
Well, that's true. And I think you also said this was the elephant in the room, which I agree with. It is a big issue. I would love to see a second service, but maybe of a completely different nature and a different time during the week. The point is, it is a major issue for the church, and of course, we're going to have to deal with it. It's going to be something on the plate the next year or two for a lot of reasons.
Unfortunately, I don't think that the robots are going to solve it for us this morning.
You don't think so? Well, I do have another question. One of the robots talked about a membership committee. Do we have a membership committee? I cannot recall.
There's so many committees. It's really hard to keep track of things, Clay.
Yeah, I don't think we do have. Let's take a look at the next scene. Let's see what goes on with Mark and Jeff.
What did you think of the newcomers' meetings?
I felt like I was drinking out of a fire hydrant. I got a little lost when they talked about the church's infrastructure. They're big on committees. Sometimes they call them groups or gatherings, but they all seemed like committees to me.
It was a surprise to get the request for a pledge even before I've spent any time as a member.
And that opportunity to volunteer form was a bit too much. They wanted to know my skill set, experiences, whether I started projects based on people or process or strategy. I wish they would just ask me when they need a volunteer.
Now that I think about it, I was confused. They showed me this chart about the A2U2 ecosystem, showing sources of energy, balance, and diversity. I wasn't quite sure what kind of diversity they were talking about. I thought I was joining a church, not an ecosystem.
Well, I overplayed the newcomer meeting a little bit. It's not quite like drinking out of a fire hydrant. It's more like drinking out of a hose. But we've also gotten a little better. We've split the meetings in two, but there is a whole lot of things going on in those meetings, and very often, having been in them to talk about the board, it was obvious that we were supplying them with a ton of information. So it's pretty tricky business.
I think things keep changing. You know, I remember walking into the Manchester, Connecticut UU church for the first time in 1985 with Kathy, and getting a warm welcome, and that was it. You're warmly welcome. Perhaps we'll see you later. And I'm sure that lots of people welcome the chance to be brought into the church in a more fulsome way. How do you hit that nail for everybody? I'm not sure you can.
You know, I agree with that. Generally, they get a lot out of it. There's one thing we don't do, though, that I do believe that would be helpful, and that is, after a year, check in with them, find out how's it going, how they doing, you know, and it would find out all the things they don't know at that stage. And what kind of the scenes we're showing kind of talk to that point a little bit. So why don't we take a look at Jeff and Mark and see how they're doing in the next scene?
Yes, indeed.
After those meetings, I read the 7 principles and the 6 sources again. It doesn't sound like UUs have an exit strategy or any explanation of what happens after death.
I can't remember many of the principles and sources. I get them all confused with the church bylaws.
When I told my friend that I joined A2U2, he laughed. He told me he knew all about it. He said, "Oh, you're a UU, you can believe whatever you want."
With all those principles, sources, and the ever so important bylaws, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, and how about all those lame UU jokes too? What is a Unitarian Universalist?
Someone with a question for every answer.
Someone who faces all questions with an open mouth.
Someone who believes in life before death.
There seems to be at least a grain of truth to all that too.
So, when we talk about you can believe anything you want, are we talking about just spiritual beliefs, or how far does it go?
It's the challenge of liberalism. You know, not everybody agrees with me.
Yeah.
It's how I'm here to grow.
Yeah, it's kind of complex sometimes, and I really do wish for simple answers once in a while. For example, should we be going deeper into conversation about afterlife? I mean, is that something that we as members ought to spend time doing? What do you think?
I was struck by your comment, Clay, about an exit plan. What appeals to you about that?
Um, again, simple answers. Once in a while, it would be nice to have simple answers. Now, would that really be a Unitarian, though, looking for simple answers?
There's so many jokes about if you find out, let me know.
Yeah. What do you believe it really takes to be a true UU? I mean, in a broader discussion, what do you think it does take to be a good UU?
What a great question. You know, for me, and I think it's not uncommon, but for me, it's really about a willingness to listen. Again, the signal aspect of liberalism, in whether it's political or it's spiritual or it's something else, is about, here are people that are different from me, and wow, do I like that.
Mhm. So, are you there? I mean,
I like you, Clay. That's a good one. That is great.
so
I think they call it practice because we keep having to practice.
there you go then. Well, let's go revisit Jeff and Mark and see how they're holding up.
Sure enough.
Some months later, Matt and Jeff speak again at Allen Avenue UU.
After we talked, I decided to join the church decor committee. It seemed like a manageable way to start church work. The committee was going to review all areas of the church, meet a couple of times, and then make some recommendations. One of the longtime members of the church suggested we start small.
So how did it go?
Well, we decided to focus on door handles. You probably never noticed, but we have some silver handles, some old gold handles, and some bronze doorknobs. We thought they should all be the same. After only 2 or 3 meetings, it looked like we settled on silver.
I can guess where this is going.
Yup. Earlier on, we lost one frustrated committee member because she thought the focus was too narrow. Then after the great silver decision, another member left the committee because they wanted bronze. We then had only 2 members, including myself. We got pricing and quality options and wrote a proposal for the board.
Okay, tight group, all in agreement. This sounds too good to be true.
The day of the board meeting, my committee partner called and said he needed to take his son somewhere and couldn't attend the board meeting. So I went to the meeting by myself, but apparently we didn't make the agenda. One board member suggested that the Building and Grounds Committee should first look at our proposal. We could reschedule a while later.
Let me guess, nothing has actually happened.
Not really. Building and Grounds said they have bigger fish to fry. I am not sure where to go from here. So, Mark, any chance you could join me on the committee to help move things along?
I really don't know anything about decor. Plus, I'm not available on the night you meet. Right.
Yeah. I hear ya. I now know a lot about door handles, but nothing about decor.
Clay Atkinson, if there is somebody who knows about church committees, I am talking to that person right now. What made you want to focus on that this morning?
Well, remember the title of this. It's not easy being a UUer. And being on committees is a tough thing with Unitarians. It's like Jerry Freeman points out. He says, it doesn't matter what the proposition is going to be, 20% of the people are going to disagree with it. So it makes it a little tougher.
Yeah.
Another observation, by the way, other than the bylaws and the sources and all those kinds of things, another thing that people have to learn in the church is process. Obviously, there's some process issues here, not knowing that he wasn't even on the agenda. So that's little things like that, you know. Got to learn that stuff.
We
I got a
ignore
quick- I have a-
process at our peril.
Yeah. I kind of wonder, do you think it's more difficult to get people to volunteer time or to pledge money?
What a great question. You know, I think it's different for different people. For better or worse, I've never been a really good financial contributor to Allen Ave UU. And for me, the chance to put in time is something that I value about being here.
So that's part of the experience
I think so.
for you.
I know that you, Clay, have put a lot of time in over the years in a really broad variety of ways. You were on the board. You were the president. You are part of the men's group. What else do you do here? What have you done?
Well, we could go down my list, but it would be very similar to a lot of other people in the church, quite frankly. So obviously, a lot of people are volunteering. I wonder, though, sometimes I think it's easier for some people to give money than to volunteer. And somehow they don't see the two, they see the two a trade-off a little bit. So that's another issue.
You know,
So,
I think back to 10 or 15 years ago when there was a lot of talk in the church and on the board about how we were moving from being a personal level church to being a program level church, and how that takes a lot of work, and how it's almost the same amount of work for a church with 150 people as it is for a church with 450 people. And I think we're kind of stuck, perhaps, because we have a small amount of people who all want a big amount of program. And who can blame them?
yeah. That's been an ongoing question and issue. And even whether a program church really works that well, certainly I've had some discussions with other churches on that issue. But again, it's another elephant in the room.
What does the men's group mean to you in your experience with the church? I know you've spent a lot of years and a lot of hours in that.
Well, both men's group and elders group, which is kind of fascinating. The men's group, I think the reason I thought it was important, and Tim was the one that initiated the idea of he and I starting a men's group again, because it's been here before, is that a lot of guys don't have a place to really stop and talk to men and have a chance of sharing and finding out sharing some of their emotional stuff is okay. And it also, as a result of that, a number of people in our church have become friends because of men's group and actually breaking down some of the barriers and sharing. Most everything in men's group stays in men's group. So it's a very safe place to be.
It is hard to miss people. The pandemic has really been a dividing force for a lot of people in their lives. For me, that men's group takes the shape of my, big band, the Portland Jazz Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen them since January.
I get it. Just another question for you, though. What we talked about church experience. What is it you believe really maximizes church experience, being a part of it? How would you describe that for yourself?
Perhaps surprisingly, you will hear me say, I like to come on Sunday. I like to hear the sermon. I like to be challenged by what our ministers have had to say and our members have had to say. And teenage Sam would not have felt that way at all. But really, I think that's a lot of what I value the most.
That's terrific. Well, let's go to the final comments from Jeff and Mark and see what they got going.
Absolutely.
A month later, they talk once again.
I made the mistake of asking my daughter Lisa, what do you call a dead Unitarian Universalist? She ignored me. So I said, someone who's all dressed up with no place to go. She's a great kid. Don't take it too hard. So she said, when do we get dressed up anyway? Then she asked me, Dad, with your attitude, why do you bother belonging to the Unitarian Universalist Church? You and Jeff are always complaining about the church. I don't get it.
Well, I see how much she is getting from the program even if she doesn't talk with you about it. Besides, she has a point. We both think the church is bureaucratic. I guess that's part of being democratic.
Yes, and it's become part of our family's community. I've also gotten a little deeper into the 7 principles. And I've quit calling them the 7 suggestions. By the way, I see that you put up silver door handles.
They look nice. I'll tell you the truth. While the committee was meeting to talk about it, Gus and Jane just went and did it.
So, Sam, do you believe we're bureaucratic because we're democratic? Does that make sense to you?
I think that we're getting small enough that we could be democratic with less bureaucracy, perhaps. I think back to my time on the nominating committee with Dick Hall probably 15 or 20 years ago. And
Yeah.
the way that used to work is that Dick and I would see each other in the hallway, and Dick would say, "We need somebody for education." And I would say, "Oh, how about her? She's new and seems to want to be involved. Okay, that'll be great. I'll go ask." Bing! That was it. And that worked
Well,
for a long time. And
the church was significantly smaller, though, then. Significantly smaller. So,
Yep.
so size has something to do with it, too, of course.
absolutely, absolutely. But I think that there's too many jokes about Unitarian process for there to be no grain of truth to be found.
Yeah, yeah.
2 Unitarians,
So,
3 committees.
another question I have for you, given the conditions, how long is it going to be before people see the new silver door handles because of the pandemic? What's that going to look like?
I always turn that question around. Clay, when are you going to want to go see 100 of your closest friends in an enclosed room?
Oh, that's a very good way of putting it. Do I get to select 100 people?
I hope I get to see that. That would be fun.
So how much do you think the pandemic will be changing our church operation? I know this is a big question, but can you think of some changes that you think are likely to happen as a result of this?
You know, thanks to you, I think that there's a change that's visible this morning. I think that Zoom services can do things that in-person services can't do, and vice versa, of course. But I can't remember any time when we have had a sermon from robots before.
Well, and for that, I have to thank you. In fact, thank you for working with me. It's a great job. I've had a great time. I've learned some things from you. And boy, you have that cutting edge, and that's one of the reasons I wanted you here. So that's just terrific.
I was really happy you asked, and it has been fun. And I've learned a bunch working with you here this morning. Thank you.
Great. So we have some closing words, and I think some very important closing words and closing hymn that go on next. So thank you again.
Talk with you in a moment.
The thoughts of Reverend Charles Magistro, First Unitarian Congregation of Toronto. I'm amused by the view that it's easy to be a Unitarian Universalist. It's as easy to be a Unitarian Universalist as it is to be persistent, courageous, and curious. It's as easy to be a Unitarian Universalist as it is to search the murky waters of life without sure charts to guide us or any guarantee that we will find a safe port to put down anchor. It's as easy to be Unitarian Universalist as it is to overcome the natural fear of the unknown and venture forth with nothing to sustain us save our zest for living and hunger for new experience and knowledge.
What could we do if we all joined together? What could we do if we all sang as one? What could we do if we all joined together? Peace would come, peace would come. together. Peace would come, peace would come. Food could be grown and famine abolished, sustenance given, shared equally, with avarice ended, greed put to bed. Peace would come, peace would come. What could we do if we all joined together? What could we do if we all sang as one? What could we do if we all joined together? Peace would come, peace would come. The earth could be cared for, our mother nourished, toxins and cancer taken away. The earth and its species could flourish together, and peace would come, peace would come. What could we do if we all joined together? What could we do if we all sang as one? What could we do if we all joined together? Peace would come, peace would come. What could we do if we all joined together? What could we do if we all sang as one? What could we do if we all joined together? Peace would come, peace would come. Peace would come.